working on that for years, but at the
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Manhattan Community Board 3's Transportation, Public Safety, and Environment Committee meeting for the month of November in 2021. I'm Paul Rangel. I am the chair of the committee. At this moment, I'm going to send it over to Michelle Hubersmith, who is our vice chair, with further instructions about the meeting.
Hi, everyone. Reminder that this meeting is being recorded. 1 second, let me just open up my committees. Okay, all attendees, please sign in with your name and affiliation into the chat box. And if you'd like to speak on a certain agenda item, Paul, are you able? I'm actually, oh, never mind, sorry. Those items will go to just the hosts of the meeting. So please only use the chat to sign in, and for any sort of technical issues that you may have. The chair will announce each agenda item and I think we have presentations for every single one of them. And after the presentation, the chair will give the committee a chance to ask questions, and then we'll turn it over to the public to ask questions or make comments. Reminder that each person has 2 minutes to speak on each agenda item. If you're here representing a group, please select no more than 2 speakers, but we will note the number of attendees supporting or opposing the agenda item. Just when we ask for public comment, please raise your Zoom hand. And please keep yourself muted unless the chair has recognized you to speak to avoid background noise. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so we have quite the packed agenda tonight. But we're going to start with our very first agenda item. Is there any corrections to the minutes from last month that we need to make? Or corrections or additions or amendments to the minutes? I see Lee shaking his head no. David, no. Michelle, no. Okay, Wendy, I thought I saw you on. You can go ahead with the attendance.
Okay, Paul Rangel.
Yeah, here.
Michelle Coopersmith.
Present.
Wendy Lee, present. Lee Berman.
Present.
David Crane.
Present.
Kenya Hernandez.
You're on.
Okay, and Tariq Ramos.
I don't see him on either.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, so we're going to start with the first agenda item. Before I start with that, I noticed there's some people on who are listed either as iPad or Galaxy S10. If you can change your name so that way, if I have to call on you for whatever reason, or if you plan on raising your hand, I'll know who I'm actually calling on. So please also sign into the chat with your attendance as well and your affiliation. Okay, so I am going to start with the Delancey, I'm sorry, I write it in my shorthand, the Delancey project. Who is here presenting for Delancey? I know from DOT. Not everyone shout out at once. Jen, who's here for the Delancey Street?
It might be DDC.
So
it's DDC. Should be
Oh,
DDC.
it's DDC. It's listed.
Yes.
I'm reading it wrong. Sorry. From DDC. Who is here from DDC? I'm sorry.
My name is Hervé Matoudi. I'm the director of design, and I will turn it over to EKRF, our consultant, to make the formal presentation, since we only have 2 minutes.
No.
No, you won't have 2 minutes. The presentation won't be 2 minutes. That's something different. That's for questions from the public.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But you should have the ability to share your screen if you're putting up a presentation.
Yes. So EKRF, why don't you take over?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Colin Duffy. I'm a project engineer for AKRF, who is the consultant for the city. And I'm pulling up my screen now. Let me go to presentation mode, PowerPoint. All right, can everyone see the blue title screen?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this is a brief overview for the project at Delancey Street, safety improvements from Bowery to Clinton Street. We're going over here, the project location, the existing conditions, some conditions that were already implemented by the city. Then we're going to go over the proposed improvements, the community liaison involvement to keep you guys posted on construction goings-ons. And we'll finish up with our current schedule. So here's the project location. It's about 2,500 feet, about a half mile from Bowery to Clinton Street up to the entrance to the Williamsburg Bridge here. And then there's also a small portion on Ridge Street from Delancey to Rivington for some small roadway improvements. Here's some photos for the existing conditions, and these will also give you a picture of what's to come. So we have on the left here, the single bike lane adjacent to the median from Christie Street to Allen Street. So as part of the final project, this bike lane is going to be built out as a permanent feature. And then to the right here, you see the two-way bike lane from Allen Street to all the way up to the Williamsburg Bridge entrance. And again, this Jersey barrier, this concrete wall here is going to be built out as a permanent feature to protect the cyclists along this median. Here's another photo of the existing two-way bike lane. And then this is the entrance to the Williamsburg Bridge from Suffolk Street to the end of the project limits at Clinton Street. And if you notice on the picture on the right, that cutout you see can kind of serve as a bottleneck to some cyclists and pedestrians. So as part of the project, there's going to be an additional cutout will be made to the left there. So it'll ease access for cyclists. And some of the changes, like I already mentioned, the marked one-way bike lane and two-way bike lanes, these are going to be built out permanently. Some of the painted curb extensions, these will also be built out to increase pedestrian safety. And the new, sort of new, was built late 2019, this bike refuge area on Allen Street. This was already implemented as part of the design. So our proposed improvements throughout the corridor from Bowery to Clinton Street, there will be new curbs, sidewalk, and roadway throughout. The dedicated bicycle lanes, which I mentioned, again, the one-way from Christie to Allen Street, and then the two-way bike lane from Allen Street up to the Williamsburg Bridge entrance. We'll have various tree plantings throughout the corridor, both on the sidewalks and in the medians, new traffic signals and street lighting, and then various replacements of water mains and sewers within the limits. And here's a nice cross-sectional view to better understand the bike lane's relationship to the median. So again, this is from Christie to Allen. The one-way bike lane will be raised and protected by a mountable curb. And then on the two-way bike lane, this will be protected by the concrete barrier with an additional railing up against it, on top of it as well. And then throughout the corridor, various sidewalk extensions, bump outs, neck outs, and median extensions too, to increase pedestrian safety throughout the corridor. So here is our new expanded median from Suffolk Street to Clinton Street. This is going to kind of help ease access for pedestrians and cyclists as they come off the Williamsburg Bridge. It wasn't very clearly marked before. Now we have clearly delineated pedestrian areas and bikeways. And again, you see to the right that second cutout on the Williamsburg Bridge concrete wall there to ease cyclist access coming off the bridge so they're not bottlenecked into that one cutout. And then they can continue down along Delancey Street along the bike path. And here are some furniture to go along the median here. We have proposed trees, planters, benches, city racks and pumps for the bikes. If you'll notice this cross section AA here on the next sheet, we'll see a cross section for this area where we have the cyclists to the left in their own dedicated space, benches, and then the pedestrian area to the right, all protected from the vehicular traffic with that barrier wall and railing, and then planters to the left. And here are some of the materials that we'll be implementing. We have the benches, standard city racks for the bikes, some trash can receptacles. So these are going to be immobile fixtures, very large. I know there are concerns about vandalism, so these will be very difficult to move or vandalize. And then also some Walk NYC wayfinding signs will be installed throughout the project limits as well. Here's a sample for what the bicycle wall will look like, the concrete wall, and then the steel railing on top, and then your standard bike pump maintenance station that'll be installed in that median area as well. And here are some material palettes for the concrete, all standard DOT, the green bike lane, and then trapezoidal delineators and detectable warning strips for that pedestrian crossing the bike lane in the median there. Also, we recall from our previous community board meeting back in June 2019, there were concerns about skateboarders. So as part of the material palette, the benches and planter walls in the median will have these skate stop concrete notches installed to not encourage skateboarders in that median area. And here are some proposed plantings. We have various tree species to be planted along the curb line and within the median. I'm not an arborist, but if any of you guys are interested in these different species, they have some nice ones here. And then some nice plantings to go. These will be planted in that median area from Suffolk Street to Clinton Street. And then here's a nice rendering looking west. This would be coming right off the Williamsburg Bridge going into Manhattan. You see the bicyclists coming in to the right, and then the pedestrians in their area on the left, all protected from the vehicular traffic. And then one more rendering going towards the bridge. Here we see the city racks, the bike pump, and then that pedestrian crossing area for the bike lane, all clearly marked out and delineated. So here's some community impacts during construction. These will all be temporary. We'll have some roadway lane closures, temporary loss of parking, relocation of the 2 bus stops, potential water main shutdowns, and nighttime and weekend hours, pending NYC DOT OCMC stipulations. And as part of DDC's effort to keep the community involved, there will be multiple measures, project information cards, advisories, weekly bulletins, and newsletters to keep you updated with the progress and construction throughout. And some other projects that we are coordinating with nearby, we have the Williamsburg Bridge Rehabilitation Project coming up summer 22 to 25. The Essex Crossings expanded median from Suffolk to Clinton Street. And also there's a New York City Transit project at Forsyth Street we are coordinating with. So project funding for the costs, latest estimate, we have the Citi and FHWA funding for the roadway work at about 34 million. And then the utilities work from DEP coming in at about 7.6 million. And lastly, here is our current schedule. We have our presentation to you now, November 21. We're anticipating design completion in June 2022 with construction to start spring 2023 for a 4-year duration ending in spring 2027. pending on, again, the DOT OCMC traffic stipulations. And that is our presentation. We'll open it up to any questions you guys have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Duffy. I appreciate that. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to ask the committee first for questions, then I'll pivot to the public for a few questions, and then we'll move into the next part of this agenda item. So committee, any questions for Mr. Duffy? If you want to disable your, oh no, you can keep it up in case we need to pull up a slide or anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Committee, any questions? Just raise your hand and I will.
I can't raise my hand.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you. I lived on Delancey and it's a disgusting hellscape. The committee has heard me say this many times before. It is incredibly dangerous. It is horrifying. I know this is going to take a long time, but I'm glad that this is being worked on. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Lieber, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Two different questions. One, correct me if I'm wrong, but in one of the earlier slides it mentioned sewer and water main work. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, how long is that anticipated to last?
I will have to defer to NYC to answer the duration for that.
Yes, this is Hervé Matelier. I'm the director of design. We are still waiting for the stipulation from OCMC. You know, construction, I mean, the stipulation has a very, very long impact on construction duration. So, I mean, we don't know yet. When we receive it, we'll have a better idea. But usually, just for the general knowledge of everybody, water main work is a pretty fast operation because it's a distribution main. It's a cut, in our language, we call it cut and fill. You just excavate, put it back, and backfill. Sewer is a different operation. It takes a long time to excavate. You have to do sheeting, and then you have to do the repair. So it depends on how many lanes we have, or what hours they give us. You know, then I will be able to tell you more once I get the stipulations. I hope I answered your question.
You partially, yes. And one of the concerns of the community is, as you're probably aware, the Houston Street repairs that were supposed to take a few years, which wound up taking a decade or more, and all the negative impact to the entire community that had. So we would hope that this would have nowhere near as many delays. And then the other question is, how many lanes of traffic and parking are going to be lost or narrowed permanently as part of this?
I believe one. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yes, so I believe with the two-way bike lane from Allen Street to Clinton Street, to implement that, it will be taking out the parking lanes from that on that eastbound side.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Lee. David Crane, go ahead.
I think it was on the, excuse me, where you said there were like the single lane bike installation going in. Anyway, I'd love to use the phrase mountable curb protected. If that is the same thing that you do, that you've done up in Times Square, where the bike lane is raised maybe 4 or 6 inches from the main road.
Yeah, 4 inches. Yep.
Can you find a more safe treatment of that? I watched a woman basically not realize that there was a 4-inch curb there and slipped off and slid into traffic. She wasn't injured, but it was kind of horrifying. I don't know. I mean, I was nervous about that before. What happened was some idiot had gone over and was standing in the bike lane, and of course that kind of stuff happens. And I don't know that it really protects anybody. And yeah, I guess it deters cars from riding up onto it, but it's not really protected. That's it.
Could we put
Yes, I also,
signage? Could we put signage? Would that help?
If you can create signage that will keep a crazy person from going over the edge and standing in the bike lane. I mean, obstacles happen, and it's a signage. I mean, you don't need more signage. I don't think signage is going to benefit. Like warning 4-inch mountable curb. I don't know. I don't think so. Something like a real wall that would protect people. Potentially, you know, I don't know. Other people are going to have stronger opinions on what qualifies as protected than I.
Thank you, David. Is there anything else, Dave? No,
No,
okay.
just wanted to point that out.
Okay. So quick question on my end, just back to the timeline. Design completion is for when's that supposed, the design completion again?
as of now, anticipated June 2022.
Would you be willing to come back to this committee in June of 2022 with the design completion? So there could be questions from the community and the committee.
Yeah, I believe so. D2C, can you confirm that should be fine?
DOT is DOT on the call, because usually DOT is the one that decide DOT.
Just want to get a commitment from anybody on that June of 2022 for coming back with this design, with a design completion, in case there's any changes that were made from this presentation tonight.
I mean, I think DOT is fine to come back. I think if DDC is available to also present.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think yeah, that's it's a possibility. I think that tonight would probably be ideal to hear back from the community board, since we're still in the design phase. By the time we come back in June, design technically is completed. So again, some of the feedback that we're hearing tonight, very helpful. And you know, this is the time in which to you know, provide that type of information. If we come back June of 2022, I just want to be clear that it's more of a, you know, informational, you know, it's like the design's finalized. You know, I just want to make that clarification.
That's fine. No, and that's fine. I just want to get a commitment to come back with what, if there was any minor change, that way the community and the committee know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any other questions before I go to the public?
Yeah, I have one thing, Paul.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Michelle.
I can't raise.
No, it's okay.
I just want to say about David's comment. I've biked in places with raised bike lanes, like Copenhagen, for example, but there's also the one by the Navy Yard. I don't know Brooklyn. I don't know what street that's on. I think it's like a matter of, I don't know if it's signage or just like general education for people about that kind of thing, because it is a new treatment in New York. I don't know if there's the possibility to put up like barriers on the curbs, like you know, it actually does protect from bikes. I'm sorry, from cars coming onto the raised bike lanes. But people from DOT have heard me say this once, and I'll say it again. Just as long as it's not just flexible bollards, which is not a protected bike lane, or just painted on the street, I'm happy. So thank you.
Okay, and to further alleviate concerns, hopefully the 3 blocks where that single bike lane is from Christie to Allen Street, where there's a bit of less traffic from the vehicles going onto the bridge before Allen Street. So we can look into signage and other means to further protect that one-way bike lane there.
Thank you. Committee, any other questions? Michelle, I know you can't raise your hand. Is there anything else? Okay. Once, twice, okay. So I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna go to the community, and I will go by the hands that I see raised currently, and you'll have 2 minutes to ask your question, and then there will be an answer. Larry Shire, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Hi, I'm a member of Community Board 6, and also spend a fair amount of time down in this area, including today. West of Allen Street, I've been mystified from the very beginning of this installation as to why it's one way heading toward the bridge. And I'm at a loss as to how to travel in the direction of Kenmare Street. And I didn't think this was a feature, but rather something that would be corrected at this time. Can somebody address that?
I'll also refer to DDC there for the design. Or DOT, that's a DOT, sorry, my apologies.
DOT is probably more, fit for that answer.
Yeah, from what I can gather, the Allen Street, that is the busy bicycle area with the bike paths coming up and down Allen Street, and then from there you can go left further up, or north or south from Allen Street, and then the one-way bike lane is only going east towards the bridge. So if you're coming off the Williamsburg Bridge, yeah, you go at Allen Street where that new median island, bicycle refuge island is. From there are two protected bike lanes within the median up and down Allen Street where you can go north or south. And I believe
I want to go west. I want to go west. I want to go on Kenmare Street.
I'm sorry, let me just jump in. Is there a possibility you go back to that slide that maybe has the layout for maybe for further clarification?
I believe this picture is, this is the bicycle refuge at Allen Street. And then so it's only one way coming from the left, following my mouse here, going to the two-way bike lane towards the Williamsburg Bridge. So to go west towards Kenmare Street, you'd either have to go north or south on the bicycle lanes within the Allen Street median to go left. And
okay. Well, what information is provided as to how to proceed west?
Again, I'll have to defer to DOT here for the bikeway design, but
because my comment is it really would be desirable to make it safe as a straight shot, paralleling the way that one travels east toward the bridge. It's simplicity in itself, and it's what an ordinary person is going to want to do. And unfortunately, if they're going to be in heavy traffic, that's not the meat grinder that would keep them safe.
Hi, Larry. This is Kimberly Ann from DOT. I don't
Hi,
know.
Kimberly.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
I don't know that we have someone on from our bike team. I'm not sure they were able to join us tonight. But I think it's a great question. And I don't have the background on why this particular project ends there. I know it's building out what we've already put in the ground and into materials, but we can certainly look for that answer and get back to you.
Well, I just would like to encourage, since this is a time that you might revisit the question as to why you can't have a bike lane east and west of equal length, to balance it out, which is the logical thing to do, that maybe you could do that if you could find a way. And the last thing I wanted to ask about, maybe somebody else can follow up on it, was the how you plan to deconflict in front of between Suffolk Street and Clinton Street, the pedestrian and bicycle crossing. Right, shown by the red.
Yeah, so this crossing will have signage, and then also the red and the yellow delineators serve to mark out the bike path from the pedestrian area.
You know, what worries me is that somebody not paying attention will hit somebody in a perpendicular manner and cause an injury.
It looks like as we work through as EDC works through the final design, there's probably, some special adjustments that we can make, making sure that the visibility is there, any additional markings, like adding rumble strips or things like that. So I think
Maybe flashing lights or something that will get people's attention so that they don't just wander through or speed through.
yeah, I think we can add some of the standard treatments that we do for bikes at pedestrian crossings like this and work with DDC. And I think that, you know, the bike lane in this case looks fairly visible for pedestrians crossing, but we'll certainly work through with DDC on those details.
This reminds me of what you have in Hudson River Park and the crossings of the bikeway there.
Mr. Shire, I do have to move on to the next.
Thank you.
Community member. Thank you. Mr. Wald, and then I'm going to go back to the committee who has some last hands up. Go ahead, Mr. Wald.
Yeah, thank you. This project goes all the way to the Bowery, and there's nothing between Christie Street and the Bowery for bicycle riders. I go regularly. I do businesses. I take Kenmare Street, which is unsafe, but it's not in the scope of this project. But yeah, piggybacking on Larry's question, how come there's no westbound between Allen and Christie? There's nothing between Christie and the Bowery, which is unbelievably unsafe. And this $34 million project will put in place. This is not some temporary materials going in from DOT. This is a major project that will take years and will stay there for decades. So please revisit your design and put something safe to ride on west of the Bowery, or west of Christie Street to the Bowery at least. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'll have to refer to DOT for the bikeway design, but there is a two-way bike lane going up and down Christie Street for a similar scenario where you would enter from Christie to be in a protected bike lane and then take the right to go on the median.
I ride down from 11th Street, I go down
Street.
on 2nd Avenue, I take a right, I take Christie Street, it's a protected lane. DOT created this beautiful, safe infrastructure for me to use. And then I take a right westbound onto Delancey Street, and it's a death sentence to me. It's terrible. I'm not going northbound or southbound, I'm going westbound. It's a major street. Thank you.
Understood, thank you. Again, that DOT jurisdiction will have to weigh in for the bike lanes.
Thank you. I saw David and then I saw Michelle. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so the two of the last points that were brought up, I agree that it is confusing how to get over to, you know, near Kenmare Street all the way to Lafayette. The streets are, you can't really turn on Allen. You're going to be going at least 4 or 5 turns to get back onto Kenmare Street. The streets just don't go through. I don't do it very often. Also, I never go somewhere where I believe there's a death sentence on the street. It's just like common sense tells me, okay, don't go there if I really think I'm going to die. But I have done it recently. It is confusing, and if I went there regularly, I'm pretty sure I would devise a safe route to get there, but it's not safe for someone who casually goes to somewhere they've not been. And then about this thing about the conflict here on the screen you're showing between pedestrians and cyclists, it is very hard. I don't know what to say here. I mean, this came up in a different context, a similar crossing between the bike lane under against the river, on South Street and pedestrians, and it's the exact same conflict. I don't know if there's a good treatment. Putting in excess of signage and lights is not going to work. As a cyclist, I can tell you that I'm not going to obey those kinds of signs if there's literally no one around. And then how many people does it take before I start complying? And I like to think that I'm very safe for the pedestrians around me. But I can see the fear in some people's eyes sometimes, even though I'm a good 15 or 20 feet away from them. Is there something that will force me to slow down? Will rumble strips do it? Something that's sort of like very clearly, like here it's red. What if red was always a pretty severe rumble strip? And if I was going too quickly, I was going to regret it. So I would get to know it pretty quickly. I don't know if you can think about something for that, because this is going to be, there are going to be collisions here as well as people feeling unsafe. I'm done.
Thank you. Yes. So, I mean, the existing addition here it's just concrete everywhere, no delineation between pedestrian area and bike lane area. We feel this with the clear markings will delineate that, and then also we'll do our best for bike slowing measures, whether the rumble strips, excess and signage to further slow them down coming off that bridge area, and then just making sure the pedestrians are aware that is a real crossing that they need to be cognitive of.
All right. Michelle, your last question on this. There's somebody else that's going to raise their hand from the committee.
Thanks. Yeah, just again, the same thing that both people have said, or three people now have said before, because we want to encourage people to bike. And Kenmar, like I already said, Delancey Street's a horrible hellscape, and it's just as bad over on Kenmar. So a two-way bike lane would be great. And then I frequently take the Clinton Street bike lane to the Williamsburg Bridge now, because it's really the only place I feel safe biking on a highly protected bike lane like the Williamsburg Bridge. And the scariest part about it is trying to get on crossing Delancey and then trying to navigate those bollards like you were talking about, which is a real cutoff, and then getting onto the bridge, because there are often people standing there. It's not a great place. So just everything that you can do to make it very clear where people are supposed to stand would be fabulous. I don't even know if there's like the possibility of like on like the Paris subways, like something comes up when there's the light for the bike and it goes back down so that pedestrians can cross or something like that. I always obey, I always yield to pedestrians when I'm biking on South Street. I see people that don't, but just everything that you can do to encourage people to be safe would be much appreciated. Thank you.
I want to just chime in. I work with Colin. My name is Maria DeBonis. I'm with AKRF. To be clear, the tree plantings that are on either side of the two-way bike lane as you approach the Williamsburg Bridge are set in place so that pedestrians won't be meandering when cyclists are coming off the bridge. So that was the intent there. But we can't prohibit pedestrians from crossing. So we did go back and forth and come up with a few iterations of design here. And we tried to make the pedestrian crossing as short as possible so pedestrians could get across quickly. And I want to point out that in red here, it's detectable warning surfaces, similar to or exactly like the warning surfaces you have at pedestrian ramps all over the city. So it is acting as a quote unquote rumble strip. And the yellow that you can see, the trapezoidal delineator, Colin, if you don't mind going to the slide with the materials palette, it is raised. So it should deter cyclists from veering off of the bikeway. I just wanted to point that out for everyone and their concerns here.
Okay, thank you. A. Summers from the community. I think you just raised your hand just in time, so I'll take the question.
Hi, thank you. Looks like a beautiful bikeway, and it's going to be really nice when it's done. I also have a concern about the raised part of the bicycle lane. If someone's going to fall off, it's going to be me. So anything the city can do to protect cars from parking in bike lanes or veering into bike lanes, I'm 100% there. I drive on the city or bike all over the city, and the Clinton Street that goes over Grand and to Delancey, there's always cars parked in, always. And I don't know why that is, but whatever you can do to keep that from happening, it's great, and thank you. Whatever you can do to keep me from falling off is also a thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That will be our final comment from the community. Committee members, any other final questions, comments, concerns for DDC or DOT? No, okay. So this afternoon, I apologize for the delay, but we were getting some last minute information, and I did send out a potential draft resolution in regard to this item. I don't know if anybody has had the chance to take a look at it over the past couple of hours. If there's a motion to bring it to the floor, please do so. Want to bring it to the floor?
I'll move that we adopt it.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Lee. Wendy, I sent it. I sent it to the committee around three-ish, I think. Are you able to pull it up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Cannot share screen while other participant is sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can pull down the presentation now. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for all your attention, everyone, and your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Can everyone see this okay?
I see it fine. I don't know. Is everybody else good in terms of the committee? David, Lee, Michelle, good. Kenyelle, I know she came on. If you all can see it, great. Okay, if you want to chop this up a little bit, if there's anything you want to add based on the information you've heard tonight, based on concerns that you've heard tonight, let's do so. I think this is pretty comprehensive. I want to thank Susan and Calvin for putting this together with the information they had. So if there's any amendments we'd like to make to it, changes, take a look at it, read through it. You want me to read through it, or you want us to go and attack a specific whereas or resolve clause? Committee can jump in at any time.
Do we want to add anything about asking DOT to look at improving the safety corridor west of Allen Street towards Kenmare, or not?
Any disagreement with that? Is that a language you want to put in? Michelle, go ahead.
I'm drafting an amendment to add for that, so I can send it in the chat in a second.
Okay. Look at that, thinking in sync today. Lee and Michelle, it's a tag team right there. There we go. So I'll wait on that and see how we insert it. Is there something else that we should be putting in? Oh, hold on. Let's read this up first. It's in the chat.
I can read it.
Go ahead.
I can.
Therefore, be it resolved that DOT should consider adding a westbound protected bike lane west of Christie Street.
Okay. Do you have that, Wendy? You can just copy and put that in.
Is there? So I make a motion to add this. Therefore, be it resolved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections to putting in this resolve clause?
Is it west of Allen Street? Actually, did I mess up?
My confusion was it west of Christie or Allen? I know there's some questions about going to the Bowery and stuff like that. So was it after Allen? I'm going to go back to Mr. Wald here. Mr. Wald, you mentioned it earlier. Was it west of Christie or west of Allen?
Yeah, and also Larry Sherritt said it says a one-way eastbound between Christie and Allen, but there's nothing westbound between Christie and Allen. That's needs to be a pair of bike lanes there, and there's nothing at all in the plan between Christie
So it's
and the
west of
Bowery.
Allen.
West
Sorry?
of Allen. It's west of Allen.
Yeah, between Allen and Christie.
Is it Allen and Christie or Allen and the Bowery?
West of Allen.
West of Allen. We just put west of Allen. Fine. Okay. I know I kind of just opened this up a little bit with asking a community member for their input. Mr. Shire, I'll quickly go ahead and with your comment.
And to clarify the prior comment, also suggesting looking at extending in both directions between Christie and the Bowery.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle, did you just put something new in there? Is that what you just did? I'm sorry. Therefore, DOT.
I changed it to Allen.
Okay.
I think we kind of need to see the present. Let me pull up the presentation.
Therefore, be resolved that.
Would that go before or
presentation, do you want me to
after
pull
the
it back up?
original?
Yeah, and then Wendy, it says therefore be it further resolved.
Further, yeah.
So then this will go after the current one that's already
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you put therefore be it further resolved.
Okay. Because I was looking at it like we support this and then like.
But we haven't supported it officially yet. We'll get to that in a second.
But yeah.
So just keep it in the second portion. Therefore be further resolved. Susan, did you want to say something?
I wasn't, but I think the last line is therefore be it further. I don't think that's what you have.
Some out of order words.
Therefore be it.
Oh, it's
further.
out of order. There you go. It looked nice. Okay, further. Therefore
Yeah.
be. All right. All right. So thank you, Michelle. We'll put that in. David, go ahead.
Yeah, let's amend it so that we actually support. So the therefore above that, it would be that supports the
So
street safety.
So that was my next question. Thank you, David. So is it from this committee, do we support this completely? I'm just gonna say, yeah, if it's no, just say it right now. If not, I got a thumbs up. Anybody no? Just go with it. Okay, it supports. Take out the does not support. A lot of these whereases are stuff that was pulled from the presentation itself already. Is there anything else we want to put in that we've taken in from information from tonight?
Can I ask, so at the western portion of this, do we have, sorry, the bike lane goes from Bowery to Allen Street toward the east. There is one for that, right?
Sorry, it starts at Christie Street to Allen Street, the one way, and then from Allen to the bridge, the two way, all adjacent to the median.
All right, so what Michelle's added, I really think we should try to get it two way all the way from all the way from the Bowery to the bridge. I don't know what the street geometry problem might be over there. For instance, if it took a lane of traffic, well, maybe it should be explicitly marked as a shared lane. But some sort of bike infrastructure marking, preferably separated lanes, all the way from the Bowery. And it's not just westbound west of Allen, it's
both directions.
Both directions, all the way.
Both directions between
whole
Christie and
stretch.
Bowery. Should we add something in there, David, that you have language for?
Well, yeah, westbound protected lane west of Allen, so it's westbound, all the way to the Bowery.
Oh my God, I said Bowery Street,
complete
ignore me.
eastbound
Sorry, I
starting
had to
to
tell
the-
everyone I fucked up. Don't,
Oh.
I wrote Bowery Street. I'm so embarrassed. I'm trying to type your stuff, David.
Okay. I believe that Colin tried to say something about something. Did you have feedback on that?
No, again, I have to defer to DOT. This is something that they'll need to work out with their bike group for where they're going to put proposed one-way or two-way lanes, and how it connects to their larger bike network throughout the city.
Yeah, so the thing is, there's obviously a trade-off sometimes between avoiding traffic congestion and creating protected bike lanes. You know, so I mean, I want that trade-off to be, I want there to be flexibility for that trade-off. So I'd like to say that adding a westbound protected bike lane west of Allen Street, all the way to the Bowery, if you've written that, if possible. And also here, and east, and extend the eastbound lane to start from the Bowery to Christie and all the way to the Ridge. See, there's a block there. I think it's a block of eastbound missing, and there's several blocks of westbound. Might just want to simplify it and say two-way, have two-way bike lanes existing between the Bowery and the Bridge.
I think we have language for that right now. Michelle just sent it over to me. Therefore, be resolved that DOT should consider having a two-way protected bike lane for the entirety of the project between the Bowery to the Williamsburg Bridge.
Great. And then can we add, perhaps at a minimum, there should be street markings to indicate shared lanes where dedicated lanes are not possible?
Hold on, no, let's just backtrack for a quick second.
Okay.
Are we going to get rid of this, therefore be further resolved, and replace it with this further resolved? With I'll type it into the chat. Give me a second.
I sent it to Wendy.
Oh, okay. Wendy, just put it in so we can see it on the document, on the Word document. So, David, help me out here. We just said yes to putting in this further resolved as it was with the west of Allen Street. We're going to replace the Allen Street one with this specific resolve clause.
Yes, I would like to see that.
Okay, so committee, everyone in favor of replacing the previous further resolve clause with this further resolve clause? I'm not hearing any objections, so we're gonna, second one stays in, the new one stays in, that second one comes out. All right, David, your next point. You're on mute now, you take yourself off mute.
Me? I thought I was done.
I thought you had a second point that you wanted to bring up. You said you wanted to add something on?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we need to go into the details of what I was talking about. I think DOT or whoever's planning this, I think the lead agency heard me. But there, at a minimum, there should be street markings where a dedicated lane is not possible. We could add that phrase, and that would be it. That would be a good addition here. Right now, there isn't. I mean, right now, we actually got kind of caught between cars, and it was like, what's going to happen next? Partly because there's a lot of kind of like next to the curb lane activity happening for that last block or two of Delancey. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember suddenly feeling that, I mean, if you cycle, you know the feeling where suddenly you're like, you're suddenly stoked for action because you're not really sure what's about to happen because you're kind of stuck. That definitely happened there, and shared lane markings can help, vehicles realize that there are cyclists likely to be present. But if there's double parking activity or loading happening, it's not going to help. I don't feel strongly about it. I think this is good.
Fine.
I don't have good language, and it's a little confusing, so I think it's good.
You just talked yourself out of it, David? Okay. That's fine. All right. Anything else, committee? Because if not, we'll just take a vote on this resolution right now. So we can move on. We have 2 other presentations tonight. Well, we have 1 other major presentation, so I kind of want to move on it. Are we good as is? Any objections to this resolution? If not, I'm going to say, oh, this is going to go through. I'm hearing no objections, so this, I don't need to take a formal vote, right, David? I can just go right through with it.
Sure, if you want to, you can pass it without a fault, but there's so few of us also.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna move through it. This is fine, this is passed, then we'll come up with it. Thank you, that was good. All right, so let's go to our next agenda item, which is the city bike infill. Who is, I have Mabel Kessler and David Andrew presenting for the city bike infill. That's why I have this listed.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening, actually. Thank you for having us. So my name is Mabel and I'm from the DOT Bike Share Unit, and I'm here with my colleague David Andrew, as well as our colleagues from the Manhattan Borough Office. So am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are. You have permission.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Great. Let me set it up. Right. And I'll put it in. Okay, so it went to the wrong screen. Sorry, one moment. All right, is everyone able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, and I think my camera got moved. Apologies for that. All right, so I'm still in the office, so we'll keep my mask on, but let me know if you need me to speak up or anything. All right, well, so again, thank you for having us. And today we'll be, speaking about our city bike infill plans for Community Board 3. So I'll start by giving a quick overview of the city bike program. Then I'll go over in more detail our infill project and planning process. And finally, we'll walk through our CB3 proposal. So City Bike is New York City's bike share system. It is a station-based system made up of a network of over 1,400 stations where users can pick up and drop off bikes at any of the stations. The system is intended for point-to-point transportation and is a sustainable and healthy way to move around the city, provides more options for getting around a neighborhood or connecting to other modes of transportation. The system operates 24/7, 365. There's no worry about storage or maintenance because that is taken care of by the operator. It is a public-private partnership between the City of New York and Lyft. New York City DOT is responsible for all system planning and outreach, while Lyft is responsible for the day-to-day operations and maintenance of the system. No city funds are used to run the system. It is supported by sponsorships and revenue generated from membership and other rider fees. City Bike has been in operation since 2013. It launched in Manhattan, south of 60th Street, and in parts of downtown Brooklyn, with 330 stations and 6,000 bikes. Starting in 2015, we expanded the system and more than doubled its size by the end of 2017. The system expanded to the upper east and west sides of Manhattan, deeper into Brooklyn and into Queens for the first time. In 2019, Lyft acquired the system and we began our phase 3 expansion, which was a major investment that will more than double the existing service area to 70 square miles and triple the number of bikes to 40,000. And that'll make this bike share system the largest in the world outside of China. City Bike is now in 4 boroughs and continues to expand into new parts of the city while adding capacity to the highest demand areas. And the system is very popular. Since its launch in 2013, there have been over 135 million trips taken on a City Bike. The program has over 165,000 annual members. And during the busy summer, spring, and fall months, we routinely see nearly 100,000 trips a day. In 2021 alone, we saw multiple 120,000 plus ride days. And even despite the COVID-19 pandemic, City Bike ridership didn't collapse the way that other modes did and was at 95% of 2019 levels. So now we'll discuss a little bit more about our phase 3 in detail, which consists of 2 distinct but related efforts, which are the expansion and the infill. So expansion brings City Bike to new parts of the city and is nearly halfway completed, while infill adds capacity to the phase 1 and 2 service areas, which are shown in gray in the map. We anticipate completing installations for all of phase 3 by 2024. So now we'll talk a little bit more about why we need infill. New and additional dock capacity is needed in the busiest parts of the phase 1 and 2 service areas to support increased demand as the system and the ridership grows, and also to meet existing unmet demand. Infill helps the system function. Rebalancing alone is not enough to accommodate the increasing demand, so infill is critical to improve overall operations. So we're adding 16,000 docks to the system over the course of 4 years, and we're in year 2, so currently about 35% completed. Site selection for infill is driven by demand and filling network gaps where we don't have stations within the service area. And this we'll discuss in a bit more detail in a bit. And infill is a rolling and iterative process. We work in multiple community boards at a time, and this really helps us meet rider demand as the system continues to expand. For our planning process, we combine a number of inputs. We incorporate community feedback via our online feedback portal that is open throughout the duration of phase 3. Our data-driven demand modeling and spatial analysis, as well as our technical on-the-ground siting criteria, shows us the best places and appropriate sizes for stations to ensure that we're meeting demand. And we work together with Lyft and, of course, the folks at the Manhattan Borough Commissioner's Office to notify community stakeholders, adjacent property owners in advance of installations. And once installations begin, our stations are monitored and maintained over time. So now we're going to take a look at our infill planning process and identifying where infill is needed. So our high-level goal for infill is to improve the system by reducing the instances where riders can find a bike or a free dock. To help us with this, we created a model that looks at existing ridership patterns and identifies areas where we need to increase system capacity to meet demand. So taking a look at this map, we've modeled the whole phase 1 and 2 service area, and you can see that there is demand throughout this whole area, but the most intense demand is Manhattan south of 60th Street. And then now we'll zoom in to Community Board 3 specifically. And as you can see here too, there's demand across the board, while certain areas shown in orange and red have greater intensity of need. One of the limitations of this model is that it measures demand where there are existing stations. And as we know, there are some areas where we do have network gaps. So we created we have a spatial analysis to define where we currently have network gaps, which means that there are areas in the system that are furthest from a station. So we used these 2 layers, the demand map and this spatial analysis, to create an informed station siting and sizing tool. And so here you can see the two layers overlaid. So as per the demand model, in Community Board 3, we need about 1,800 more docks to meet the demand that we've currently measured in this board. And within this proposal, we're proposing 683 additional docks And that'll be in the form of reinstalling stations, station extensions, equipment swaps, and new stations. So these next few slides will just go over the different infill proposals that we have for Community Board 3. And please note the key on the slide. So each number on the map corresponds to the site and its place on the list, and the different colors correspond to the infill type. So teal is for an extension at an existing station. Red is when adding a new station. Purple is for an equipment swap at an existing station. And I can explain that more when we're at talking through the particular site. And so I'll just start reading through, and after I go over the sites, we'll have time for comments and questions on any of them. So the first one I'll start with is we have a sidewalk station on the on the north sidewalk of South Street at Pike Street, and then we'll be adding a roadbed station on the east side of Rutgers at Henry Street, and also a roadbed station on the west side of Orchard Street at Grand Street. For this existing station at Norfolk and Broome, we'll be extending that sidewalk station. We will be adding a sidewalk station on the south side of East Houston and Columbia Street, and a roadbed station on the north side of East First Street and at Bowery. For the northern half of the community board, at East 6th Street, on the north side, we'll be adding a roadbed station. On East 5th Street on the south side at Avenue, we will be adding a roadbed station. On the north side of East 4th Street at Avenue B, a roadbed station. On the north side of East 7th Street at Avenue B, a roadbed station. On the south side of East 7th Street and Avenue C, a roadbed station. And on the west sidewalk of Avenue D and East 10th Street. So this is a station that is already on the ground as a temporary relocation. So we would like to keep this station as well as reinstall the permanent site that had been off the ground due to construction at Avenue D and East 12th Street. And looking at number 13, this is also an existing station on the north side, or actually, sorry, it's the south sidewalk of East 10th Street and Avenue A. So this is north of Tompkins Square Park. We are proposing a swap of equipment there. So it's currently an angled station, and we will be swapping that for standard equipment, which will give us more station capacity. At Avenue A and East 11th Street on the west side, we're adding a roadbed station. At East 10th Street and 2nd Ave, a roadbed station on the north side. On the south side of East 14th Street on the sidewalk, proposing adding a sidewalk station. On the west side of Avenue A at East 14th Street, adding a roadbed station. And at the existing station at East 13th Street and Avenue A, to extend that roadbed station. So that's the proposal of stations that we have for you today. So feel free to ask questions, and thank you for your time.
All right. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I will call on committee members first and other members from the community board as well. There's a lot of hands raised to start. Okay, so I'm going to start with Ms. Hernandez. Kenyelle, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to have a question about, you said one of the locations was 4th Street and Avenue B. Where exactly would that be stationed on the sidewalk, as that area is already highly congested?
Yeah, which it's on, you said East 4th Street and Avenue B, so that will be a roadbed station along the north side there.
So that will go on the sidewalk or taking away parking?
On the roadbed.
Is, I need
That's the
something a little
street.
more.
That's the
street.
street, yeah, on
So
street,
it will be
yes,
removing more parking.
correct.
So all of these that mean roadbed will be removing all the parkings to replace bicycles.
So yes, those are on-street stations.
All the parking we've already lost. And these are a lot of stations you're putting in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, Susan, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. So just to give a little background on this, DOT did give Kelvin and me a preview of what this was going to be, I guess about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And my objection at the time was that we needed to give information to the community board and the community ahead of time to really be able to look at these sites. We're not approving them, but we're giving input. And I will tell you, sometimes they're very good locations. Sometimes if you know the area or use the area, you will find a certain location is not the best for that area. There's no question there's a demand for more city bikes. During rush hour, they're all gone, and we do get complaints that there's not enough installations, but we will also get complaints about where they're placed. And, even in the preview that we got in the office, we had photographs. You really can't tell from East 4th Street and Avenue B.
In her faith.
I'm sorry, somebody was.
And as you say, with so many friends, she had.
Okay, someone needs to mute.
Yeah, I got it, Susan.
Okay, thank you. You really need photographs, and I did ask for more current photographs. You have no idea where there are dining sheds in relation to these. There was one I looked at because it was photographs. It was on 14th Street, and there was a grate there, and they were inside the grate, so too much of the sidewalk was being used instead of putting them next to the grate in another area. I think this method of notification is extremely faulty. And even in the last 2 to 3 weeks, to go from actual photographs to this, which shows you nothing in the area. It's not transparent. It's not giving us the information that we need. And it's certainly not giving it to us in time to go look at the sites. And I did tell them, it looks like they did take the advice. I said, Avenue A was there was a couple cited for Avenue A, and I said, it was absolutely too crowded that the side streets next to Avenue A would be better. That's it.
Thank you, Susan. All right. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure I get to the committee members first. Lee Berman, go ahead.
Thank you. Really, Susan, I think you hit the nail on the head. DOT and Citi Bike really needs to do the community outreach and get the community input from the community well in advance. For example, when you came to CB3 a year ago and said that you would have a new station on Grand Street, you wound up putting 53 bike docks in front of 465 Grand Street, taking up 225 feet of parking in front of the Co-op Village Newark Center, where the disabled old folks and Newark members are no longer able to get out of their transportation to get safely into the Newark Center. So we need to make sure that the community members who know the community best, whether they are near schools or restaurants or other establishments that maybe your sighting may not be the exact perfect spot for. Maybe it could go on a sidewalk 60 feet away from an entrance to some facility. This needs to be done. We need the further input, and as Susan said, this really we need to be partners in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. All right. I see two fellow board members on who have their hands raised. Trevor Holland, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry I have my camera off, but I'm going to be a little stronger with my comments following up with Lee and Susan. It's a shame, and maybe I missed something, that it looks like there was some planning going into locating these stations. So it's not like this came together last night and you're only able to show us these locations today. So I've got a couple questions on this top-down approach. You mentioned community notification prior to installation. That doesn't really mean any community input. It just means we're notifying you, we're gonna put it there, as opposed to talking to people who actually live in the area. And I'm really frustrated if you go back to the slide, because I know you focus on this one where you show 1, 2, and 3. I live within a block of those locations. I live on Rutgers Slip actually, and South Street. So that location number 1, I'm just curious because I can't scroll back to the transcript to see what you said where it would be put. So that's my first question. And the same thing with number 2. And is this process really based on community input, or is it just we're telling you what we're going to do, and unless you can find something that's really outstanding, there's absolutely nothing you can do about us putting it there. So if you can answer those questions first, and I have one more.
Thank you. Yeah, so the first part of the question is, I think you were curious about the location for 1 and 2. So the first site will be on the sidewalk, on the north sidewalk of South Street, at east of Pike Street there. And then the second site will be on Rutgers, and that'll be an on-street station south of Henry Street.
South of Henry Street. That's still really hard. I wish there could be some more definition other than one day I walk past it and I see exactly where it is. South of Henry Street. I mean, I can't envision where it will be. There's bodegas and it's tight sidewalks there. Are you talking about where the subway entrance is, or?
So it's on the roadbed there, and
also it's in the roadbed.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be interesting. That's one of the most dangerous corners in all of CB3, but hey, that's what you're going to do. The other, just to follow up, but I know I've left some outstanding questions, that you're putting them all within 1 block of another station. And I know this has always been an issue in minority neighborhoods who don't particularly use these bicycles, and the real city really doesn't do any outreach that's targeting a lot of these folks, but these are all within 1 block of stations. And you should consider moving number 2 to the Basketball City area, because they have a lot of events, a lot of people bike down there, and there is a close place to dock them. So a location next to or at Basketball City would be more appropriate than especially number 2. Number 1 I can understand, but number 2 is a little troubling. The other thing is that, and DOT was talking about this earlier, about the Allen Street or Pike Street malls, and it's nice what you've done with Delancey Street to build new bike lanes and nice and pretty. But for more than a decade, that Allen Street bike lane has languished, and it floods every time, and it's horrible. And I'm surprised that the bike advocates never say anything about it. But you're adding these bike stations to a heavily used bike lane that is, for some reason, never sees any types of repair. So I'm just adding that to the comments, but my other questions about input still stand.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, we have, our online portal that we continue to receive feedback on. And we come to presentations and we meet with stakeholders, but definitely always, room, and we always open to have conversations with, folks from the neighborhood, adjacent property owners. Definitely, if there are any serious operational concerns, those are things that we like to remedy and Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what you just said there, but are you saying that there is an opportunity for input, or there's not an opportunity for meaningful input?
Yes, there is an opportunity for input. And we're here
When-
today to receive input as well.
Thank you, Trevor. I see another board member, Daniel Tanow. Am I saying that correctly, Daniel? Is it Tanow? Is it Tanow?
Tanow.
Tanow?
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you for getting us more city bike stations in our community district. I am a founding member of City Bike, and I've been giving public input on this for more than the 8 years, because you did outreach for 2 years before we got the bikes, actually. But I would like to see a City Bike docking on every corner, and I've used almost every dock in Community District 3. I would like to see, you didn't find a way to put any within Hell Square, so Essex to Allen, Houston to Delancey, and we are desperate need. The ones on Allen are always full in the evenings and always empty in the mornings. So yeah, it's great that you were able to squeeze one in on Orchard. How about putting one on Orchard above Delancey or Ludlow? I know there's a lot of truck commercial loading zones, but there's also bike corrals in disrepair that could be a city bike rack instead. Things like that. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. Go ahead, Susan, and then I'll take some questions from the community.
Okay, I have two questions. When we got the briefing in the office about 3 weeks ago, we got a photograph of each site showing where the installation would be. How come we're not getting the photographs tonight?
Yeah, I think it's maybe just we could definitely take that into consideration for the presentation. We've always found it simpler to talk through the locations together, just list it out. But yeah, definitely something that we can take into consideration for future presentations.
So I specifically, when we got the presentation about 3 weeks ago, they were, I think, Google photographs, and I specifically asked for updated photographs for tonight so that we could see where there would be dining sheds and that kind of thing. So I would have appreciated if that input had been accepted. When is the occasion for the community board to have meaningful input?
We're here today to receive.
This is not meaningful input. We don't know what each place looks like. We didn't have advance notice, so the people who live in those places could come say, hey, this is a great one, or do it around the corner. We're not saying not to put installations. We're talking about where they're best located. So this is not meaningful input. And the proof of it will be the complaints afterward. And when City Bike first started, we were told that because the installations are so easy to cite, they could easily be changed, but that has now changed, and it's almost impossible now to get a site changed. So I would not call this meaningful input, because we can't even see what the sites look like, and we didn't get advance notice to prepare for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. David Crane, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask, what is the process that DOT does have for determining that something is a problem and relocating it? Because I had always understood that that was one of the strengths of this program, was that you would be able to relocate, and you could also then put in something, put them out more rapidly. I totally appreciate that this proposal is driven by, you know, an analysis of where there are gaps in the system, and I actually think it's great. But I also would like to understand how it is that, and the public to understand as well, how it is that something would be relocated if, for instance, it was in front of a senior center. Or what you would do when you realize that there are, in case there are, I mean, I don't know if you have looked for these curbside shacks. Anyway, that type of thing. What is that process? How
So
often
yeah,
is it done?
we do like on the ground, right? So for all these stations, we're on the ground siting these stations to make sure that they're technically viable, that they're not cutting in front of any curb cuts, right? That's where that pedestrian access is to the street, that they're not cutting in front of, you know, specific like access zones, loading points, hydrants. We work with FDNY to make sure that you know, the stations are in places that we've determined like the suitable location for stations that we follow. And then also, you know, take into consideration adjacent property owners, and also reach out to the adjacent property owners so that they're able to let us know what operational challenges could arise from station installations.
Interesting. So you have gone through those kind of processes for all these locations.
So for the property owners, we'll be starting that or continuing that following this presentation.
You have not always done that, and it's not always done.
That's always part of our process. Yes, that is a standard part of our process since we've been in operation. So we always notify the adjacent property owners.
And have you surveyed those sites, these 16 or 17, whatever sites?
Yeah, so all of these sites have been surveyed for technical viability. So that's making sure, like I mentioned, we're keeping clearances, you know, citing them on streets that are appropriate widths, sidewalks that are appropriate widths to maintain travel lane clearance, pedestrian clearance. We're not crossing over utilities or hydrants or driveways, curb cuts, a lot of those different things.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, David. Susan, I'm going to come back to you. Let me just go to the community really quick. I
Sure.
see 3 hands up, then I'll come back to you. I'll have one more thing to say, and then we can move to the next part of this. Larry, you're back. Go ahead. You can lead off.
Thank you. I am also a founding member, and I live just north of 14th Street. And so I am so grateful for this. Would you pull up 16, 17, and 18, the descriptions? Okay, 16 East 14th Street, First Avenue on the south sidewalk. That's the southwest corner. That looks very good. 17 Avenue A, East 14th Street, West Roadbed, also extremely helpful because this morning, between 10:30 and 11, I wanted to get a bicycle. Thank you for bringing back the station at East 14th Street and Avenue B. Unfortunately, there was no working bike there, no bikes at number 18. So that needs to be expanded. And also I want to thank you finally for installing a bike station at the southeast corner of East 13th Street and 2nd Avenue. This looks great. And I'm very familiar with this area. There's a desperate need and a shortage of bicycles during the day and a lack of docks in the evening. This will work out really well, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Are you from Stuytown?
Cyan.
Oh, okay, cool.
Apologies,
All right.
the lights turned off in the office, so I need to go turn them back on for a moment.
All right. I'll wait for her to turn the lights back on. The party's not over just yet. When she gets back, the order will be Mr. Wald and then Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Wald, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to see this presentation. I look forward to the other 1,200 needed docks in the area. I was curious, piggybacking on Susan's question about Avenue A and 11th Street. The actual location will be on Avenue A, or has the suggestion been taken and it will move to 11th Street, where I also think will be way more appropriate?
Yeah, so that section of 11th Street was inviolable, so we are looking here at Avenue A along the bike lane.
It's a shame because Avenue A is totally blocked by delivery trucks, and the curbside needs to be. Yeah, 11th Street is a wonderful city bike corridor. We have one on Avenue B, we have one on First Avenue, one on Third Avenue, and Avenue A station will be amazing. Please look into the south roadbed of East 11th Street between A and First. There's plenty of free parking spots there. As we know, every city bike station that replaces a car parking spot gets a lot more usage and turnover. Please look into the south roadbed of 11th Street between A and First. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely, take these comments and take another look following this presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mabel and DOT, for doing the presentation. I'm a resident of CB3. I'm not quite a founding member of Citi Bike, but I use Citi Bike regularly, and I have for years. I commuted to work in Midtown exclusively by Citi Bike before I was vaccinated, all over the course of last year. I agree with what others have said. I think it was Larry and Daniel that there's a desperate need for more bikes in our neighborhood. And I also look forward to the additional 1,200 bikes that I guess will follow in a subsequent plan. Just on the community input point, I understand that you want to have conversations with stakeholders and give an opportunity for input. And I'm glad that you're here doing that today. But like everybody said, we need these city bike stations. And this plan is for, as I understand it, only about a third of the ones that we all agree are needed. If you set out to get input from every potential stakeholder, it's just going to massively delay this process. So I really hope you don't take that approach. You're going to hear a lot of kind of individualized concerns, and you are the experts here. You have the information on bike usage and traffic patterns. You've been evaluating these, so I trust you and I hope you move forward on that. But while I'm on and have the floor, I would just say build more adjacent to transit. I really liked what I saw on 1 through 6, which is near where I live, putting new stations and expanding the Norfolk Street one around the Delancey, Essex, and East Broadway stations. I think that's great. If you could do more of it, that's wonderful. I'm sure it's the same on 14th. And to the extent you could put them in spaces where it's currently used for parking, especially free parking, I really encourage you to do that. The more bikes we get on the street and the fewer cars, the safer we are. So the more you can do that, the better. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Okay. Susan, go ahead. I'm sorry. I said I'd call on you last. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to give an example of a major property holder that was not consulted, and that was Village View on First Avenue. And their lawyer actually contacted me because they had city bikes put on the inside of the sidewalk so that people taking and returning bikes had to use the sidewalk while people were trying to go north and south on it. Jennifer did work with me and we had it moved to the roadbed, which has proven to be fine. So I want to reiterate that this is not about not citing locations. It's about having them in the best locations. And Avenue A, when you say you've surveyed the area, I suspect you've not been on Avenue A. on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. And the people who live there have the best information. And that's why the community board input is so meaningful. It's what community boards are for. And I would urge not to have anything on Avenue A, the side, to put them all on the side streets. And I would really urge giving us photographs of these and letting us look at them for a month and coming back so that we can give meaningful input.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, we'll definitely take another look at Avenue A.
Thank you, Susan. Before I move to the next part of this item, I just wanted to say I usually wait for everybody else to ask questions before I ask anything. So my question is about the website itself, and you're saying data driven. So what's to say same person isn't plugging in the same locations over and over again, and it's just one person, right? Like I don't know, that going back to the whole meaningful input stuff. There's different people who live in this committee, who live in different parts of the neighborhood in this district, and it's like these things are already locked in without change. So it kind of like puts us in this bind where we can't offer real input. Ms. Hernandez let us off saying, wait a minute, there's going to be something at 4th and B, no, these are real questions that people have, right? Yeah, some of it's individualized based on where you live, but doesn't make it any less important as to knowing the area. And she knows that area. I know the area around Avenue C. People know the areas below Houston, below Delancey Street. So it's, getting information off the website is not enough, like as to where these things need to go. So that's my take on it, and we'll move forward from there. All right, for the committee, I sent out, I believe Sunday evening, a potential draft reso in regard to all of this going on tonight in terms of the infill and proposed locations. I know there's a lot of questions and concerns. We've heard a lot of information here tonight. Is there a motion to bring that reso to the floor? That draft reso to the floor? Sorry, I have a siren coming through. My apologies. Is there a motion to bring this draft reso that I sent out on Sunday night to the floor? No motion? Anyone? David, you don't want to bring a motion to the floor for the reso?
I didn't read it in advance and I'm afraid of what it says. So no, I'm not gonna move it.
Okay, all right. Anybody else?
Yes, actually, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the resolution. Yeah, just scanning it again.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. There's a second.
Second.
Okay. There's a second. Wendy, can you pull that up, please? So the title of this resolution is based on a lot of the information we've heard tonight and questions that were brought up before and comments brought up before by the office, the committee, and some of the community members and other board members as well. And the title's requesting improved collaboration and planning with DOT bike share. I'm going to read through the resolution. I'm just going to go through the whereases and then go to the resolve clause. Whereas DOT planned and cited 14 new city bike stations, 2 station extensions, and 2 equipment swaps in CD3, whereas CD3 has shown increasing need and demand for additional city bikes and additional stations and capacity are needed. And whereas CD3 is a densely populated mixed-use district, many of CD3's streets are narrow, congested, and packed with a diversity of competing needs and uses. Holistic transportation planning and site design are crucial to ensure that there is space for all needs and elements of the street. And whereas DOT presented the new and altered station locations and layouts to CB3 for the purpose of gathering input and feedback from the community, and whereas CB3 was not provided with the proposed locations before the meeting, therefore board members did not have the time needed to provide informed input into where these stations should be sited, and impacted residents were not notified to be able to give input. And whereas in addition, DOT should have a master plan and takes a comprehensive look at competing uses of the street and ensures that each use is carefully considered and holistically considered in the street design so that streets are accessible and to ensure there is proper space for all uses and elements. These uses and elements include but are not limited to bus stops, permanent basket and garbage containers, loading and unloading, and no standing zones for passengers and businesses, street seating, bicycle racks, city bike stations, outdoor dining sheds, roadbed seating, and sidewalk seating, vehicle parking. Therefore, be it resolved that CB3 requests that DOT collaborates more extensively with CB3 during its planning process by providing more detailed information, adequate time for the community board to review and provide input into DOT proposals. The planning process should also holistically consider all street uses and elements to ensure that there is space for all. Sorry if I went a little fast there. There's nothing after that, right, Wendy? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, that was it. Go ahead, Evan.
This seems like overkill. It's a little over the top. This round of planning has gone pretty much the same as all the other rounds of planning. And as Susan actually pointed out, problematic stations can be relocated. The community board is really not equipped to participate in comprehensive planning. And I'm against this resolution.
Could I respond to a comment that's incorrect?
Go ahead, Susan.
DOT has changed its policy. They will no longer, if a site doesn't seem good, they will no longer move it. It is their policy. The one I was able to get moved was a very unusual exception. Both the city council offices and the community board have been told that the original ease of changing it is no longer true. So, everything, your opinion and everything else is of course your opinion, but that one statement is that that is not true. It's almost impossible as policy to change anything.
So DOT,
this wasn't considering that the community board should be involved in a master plan. It was asking that the DOT have a master plan.
Okay. So DOT, I did ask a lot of questions earlier, so I just let it slide that I had specifically asked about a process for relocating stations that are determined to be problematic. So could you explain whether that happens anymore and how?
Well, you can ask Jennifer, because I've dealt with this with Jennifer. She's still on.
Well, I asked DOT. Yeah, so DOT.
Jennifer is DOT. The people, they will not let the community board or the council offices engage in that process anymore. I'm telling you as a fact that I have tried many times. One time, and this is when this was all a Village View, hired a lawyer. One time we were able to get it.
Okay, I'm actually asking DOT.
Hi, so I will say that there are locations that we will, take another look at. I mean, there are instances where we will take a look, and if everything, based on criteria and everything else, works, then we will leave it. But then depending on what the issue is, what the complaint is, then we try to take another look at it. Because
So-
there is potential that there could be some stations that we may be able to relocate to an alternate location.
So Jennifer, is that what you tell me when I bring these complaints to you?
It's
You-
something
are
that
you
we'll
s-
definitely look at, yes.
But you tell me the policy is not to change them.
We try not to, but then, if there are stations that really has, issues and we do see it, then that's something we can definitely work it out.
Yeah. So we did get one changed. It is almost impossible to get them changed. Fact, it's almost impossible. We tried.
Sorry, I'm having some issues with my connection. Okay, so David's already stated that he's against this resolution. That's still your position, David?
Well, I'm thinking, but I believe it is.
Okay. Trevor, yeah, go ahead, Trevor. Jump in.
Yeah, just one comment to the resolution, and I don't know how the wording for it, but it did mention if the DOT could come back in a month and with photos, and now as the community has a chance to look at over these locations so that we can give input, if that could somehow be added. It may not be able to be added because DOT does what it wants, but I think I don't think there's anything wrong with community input. I heard someone earlier say that it slows down the process, but often it gets it right. And that's what the community board is about. And that's about getting community input from everyone, especially people who live in the area and who may just be a pedestrian, as opposed to part of some organization for 10 years. But I think it's important to hear from everyone, especially in these low income neighborhoods. So if that could be added, it would be helpful.
Thank you, Trevor. Trevor, could I ask you to potentially draft some language right there for it, if you don't mind? And just throw it in the chat when you have a second.
I can throw something in the chat, but someone's going to have to work.
Yeah, no. If you throw it in the chat, we'll put it on. Put it on. Anything else from the committee? Michelle, Wendy, Kenyelle, Lee, nothing. All right, so let me just take the temperature here. David already kind of said, even though he's on the thinking portion now, that initially he was against this resolution. Is that the feeling of the entire committee? I'm going to go around and ask. I'm going to start with, let me see who I see first. Oh, I see Michelle first. Michelle, you're against or for? She may have stepped away really quick, so I'll come back to her. Lee, you're against or for this as it is so far without the additional change? You're for you're for it, okay. Wendy, you for or against going through with this resolution?
If the resolution doesn't pass, then like what happens?
And then we just don't submit it.
We just don't submit anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I am for it.
Seems like, well, I'll come back. I'm just taking a temperature right now. I'm not doing a formal vote. Seems like you need some more information. So Lee says he's for. David said no, but kind of on the fence. Wendy said yes, but kind of on the fence. Kenyelle, what do you think?
I want to say I'm with it for right now, but I would like more. Want to hear more about it moving forward.
What do you want to hear more about exactly? Let me ask that question.
I guess I'm just still trying to wrap my head around everything that was said, and if this gives them the okay.
Well, it's about the resolution itself and collaboration. This specific thing. So I'll come back to you. Think about it, read it some more. I know it's up on your screen, and I'll come back to you. David, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple members have just asked about, basically, are we approving them or what? I believe we have never taken a position on any proposal for city bikes in the past. The DOT comes and does a lot of getting input on locations, as they've done tonight at the meeting. And we've never actually supplied that input in any form other than the discussion that happens during the meeting. So anyway, that's just to that point. The resolution before us is not about approving or not approving of these locations. It is asking for better information in advance, which would be better. I still think the resolution, I don't know, it's whiny.
Okay. All right. Michelle, I don't know if you're back. I know you had to step away. I'm just trying to take everyone's temperature as to how they feel about this specific resolution.
Paul, how do you feel about this resolution?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, Lee. Why are you doing that? I was gonna get to it. I like to let everybody go first. First things first, I'm just oh, it's a direct message to me. Trevor just sent me some language, so give me a second. I'll put it in. I'm gonna send it over to Wendy. Wendy, I'm gonna just I think it only came to me, so I'm just gonna give it to you. And you can just throw it in there just right now. It will be a further resolve clause. Okay, so Lee, good question. My opinion is I actually am. I understand what you mean, David. I get it. And I've been kind of lukewarm on this resolution. I'm leaning towards saying yes with it. So, and going with it. We can go to a formal vote in a second, but Michelle's got her hand up. She's back. All right, go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks, Paul. I guess I just don't really understand what the resolution gets us. Like, we don't typically write this type of resolution. In my experience, if someone wants to correct me on that, but like this, they know that they're supposed to do it. We ask them all the time and nothing ever changes. Like, I just don't really understand what like the strategy behind the resolution is. Like, are they gonna, the administration is changing in like 2 months. I mean, that's what I guess. I don't really understand the strategic value of it.
That's fair. There's changeover. Susan, do I see your hand up? Go ahead.
If you want me to respond to it.
You can respond to it, sure.
Yeah, as far as strategy. You're right, we don't usually do it. And the fact that putting something in writing, particularly when you don't do it all the time, does give a lot of added weight. And particularly, it gets elected officials behind it also, because it's something that's so, to be honest, that can so easily be done. So that's a strategy. And as far as the change in administrations, you're absolutely right. Would have to be presented to them also.
Okay, thank you, Susan. All right, so the new amendment offered by Trevor, thank you, Trevor. Therefore, be further resolved that DOT come back to CB3 with photos next month after the community has a chance to properly review the proposed locations. Is there any objection of putting this in? Like we haven't gone through that. I was just doing a temperature check. I don't know. Go ahead, David. You can jump right in.
Yeah, no, I'm not in favor of doing it. I don't want to do this a second month in a row, so I'm not in favor of that.
Okay. So there's an objection to that clause, that further resolve clause. So any other objections to that result, further resolve clause of having them come back in December with photos? Trevor, go ahead. You can jump in. Trevor, do you have your hand up? You can go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute myself with this phone, which I don't normally do. And I understand that, but the problem is that most of the community knows nothing about these proposed locations. And if DOT is coming to us for recommendations or input, if we don't do something, then what is the community board here for other than them taking what we said verbally? We can't go over every single station. I gave my input on 2 stations, but it's not in writing. It's just someone taking notes. So how do we provide input? What was this meeting for right here today? Just to give them notes, or does it need a resolution? So that's just my point of adding that, because otherwise I'd like to be able to give meaningful input on those proposed locations other than just within the scope of saying, well, where are you going to put that, or where exactly is that?
Thank you, Trevor. Okay, right now I'm only hearing one objection to putting this clause in to this version of the resolution. If I'm not hearing any other objections, I'm gonna keep this in.
I'd like to hear a vote.
Okay, so so I'm gonna vote first on the clause, right, David, and then I can go move it to the full resolution. Okay, on the clause, therefore be it further resolved that DOT come back to CB3 next month, which is December. Yes, no, or can I go by hands, David?
Yeah, just take, counts of.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll do it the same way I normally do it. So raise your Zoom hand if you want to leave this in. Lee.
I don't know how to raise hand because I'm screen sharing. I'm raising my hand.
Okay, so Wendy's raising her hand. That's 2. Lee, I'm 3. Kenyelle, you don't have your hand up or no? It's just for this clause. This therefore be for the result that DOT come back next month.
I'm for that.
Okay, so I'm just being clear. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the majority. That stays in. Okay. I'm just going to move this actual resolution to a vote right now. And that I'll go yes, no on. So Wendy, can you just shout it out to us in attendance?
Okay, Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Michelle Cooper-Smith.
No.
Wendy Lee. No. Lee Berman.
Yes.
David Crane.
No.
Kenya Hernandez.
Yes.
And Tariq. It's Tariqan.
Tariq is absent. Tiebreaker's gotten out here.
Okay, so we have 3-3.
Oh my goodness. David, when it's tied, it doesn't go through, correct?
Right, it lost.
Okay. All right, that's this doesn't go through. Yeah, so don't worry about anything else. You can take it down. All right, thank you, everyone. We're done with this agenda item. Thank you to DOT and to everybody from Citi Bike for coming on. I appreciate it. And to the members of the community who asked questions and consensus. Trevor, your hand's still up from before, or?
No, I just have a quick question. Since the motion doesn't pass and we really didn't get any input, I would just ask Mabel, how do we contact DOT as a community person? Because now this is outside of the community board to give meaningful input on these locations. Do we contact you directly or Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer would be the first point of contact. We also have a bike share email that you could email us, but I think it would be most direct through the borough office.
Yeah, the bike share email, I never got responses on the other locations for Clinton Street, and no responses whatsoever. So I'll just email Jennifer directly.
Sounds
it's just
good.
sad that we couldn't do it through the community board, but that's the way it works.
Thank you, Trevor. All right. We have one more agenda item tonight. Is I guess it's an update on the neighborhood loading zone project.
Yes. So pretty much DOT has presented the neighborhood loading zone program to the committee back in May of 2021. The goal of the neighborhood loading zone is to repurpose parking spaces to allow loading and unloading from 8 to 6 Monday to Friday. Residential parking are available before and after those hours and on weekends. Since the presentation, we were able to get up to, it was around 100 suggestions that we received. In addition to the ones that has already been installed in as part of the Avenue C bike lane, we have an additional 12 locations that we would like to install this winter. So I know that there's a letter that we sent to the committee, well, to Susan. There's about 12 locations, so I'm just going to go through the 12 locations that we are proposing. The first one is 525 East 13th. This is on the north side of East 13th between Avenue A and Avenue B. I will say that a lot of these locations are pretty much in front of our major residential buildings. So it's like, right by the entrance. So it's about 25 to 40 feet. So the first one was 525 East 13th. The second one is 433 East 13th. This is on the north side of East 13th between Avenue B and Avenue. I'm missing an avenue for that one. I'll come back to that one in a bit. Then in front of 75 3rd Avenue on the south side of East 12th between 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue. Then there's 600 East 12th on the south side of East 12th between Avenue C and Avenue B. The next one is 323 East 9th on the north side of East. It's on the north side of East 9th between 2nd Avenue and 1st Avenue. Then 246 East 4th on the south side of East 4th between Avenue C and Avenue B. The next one is 222 East 3rd on the south side of East 3rd between Avenue B and Avenue C. Next one is 199 East 3rd on the north side of East 3rd between Avenue A and Avenue B. 438 East 12th on the south side of East 12th between Avenue A and 1st Avenue. Next one is 542 East 5th on the south side of East 5th between Avenue A and Avenue B. Then next one is 143 Avenue B on the north side of East 9th between Avenue B and Avenue C. And the last one I have is 172 East 7 on the south side of East 7 between Avenue A and Avenue B.
Okay. All right. I know we have a few questions. Thank you. I'm gonna go Lee and then Michelle.
Thank you. I apologize. Did I miss a map being sent out by DOT of this? Because Jennifer, the addresses you just threw out mean nothing to me without some context and without a list in front of me, without a map. This is, we just declined to pass a resolution asking for more community input and substantive community input. And here we go again. You just read them all, and
okay.
Go ahead. Again, unless I missed the email, in which case I apologize.
So this was actually a letter sent to the community board. So in the letter, it was just the letter stating, the neighborhood loan zone and the locations for it. So that was shared with Susan.
Sorry, I don't remember the letter.
It was.
Regardless of that letter, it should be here tonight on the screen, DOT.
I can see if I can try, because it was sent to you on October 22nd. I think that's why when this was on the agenda, my purpose was to just, discuss it, because usually when it comes to us, we gave a presentation, then whatever suggestions that we received, then we did our survey, and then once we did the survey, we, sent a letter letting you guys know which are the locations that we chose.
It was October 22nd, is that what you said?
Yes, the letter was dated October 22nd.
Well, it should have been put on the website, but I don't remember it at all, sorry. But we still would have needed a map.
I don't even have a map myself. I only have the locations in front of me.
That's crazy.
Respectfully, and I think most, if not all of us, would agree that this is a fantastic idea, the neighborhood loading zone. Fantastic idea. But again, this goes to the process that DOT has been using for community outreach and input for quite some time. And I think it's lacking. So thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle and then Kenya.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'll just echo what Lee said. I mean, you can throw those addresses into like Google Maps and share it with us or something. I've done that for clients. It's not that hard. And then I have two questions, which is one, why are none of the loading zones below Houston Street? I personally went into the website and added many in my neighborhood. And two, what is your plan for actually enforcing these loading zones? I've seen pictures from where they are now in the East Village that they're constantly being blocked with illegal parking. I submit 311 complaints to PD constantly and nothing happens. There was a city council hearing about this and a huge streets blog story about how PD does not respond to 311 complaints about illegal parking. So what is the plan to expand this program below Houston Street, and how are you going to enforce the loading zones? Thank you.
So based on the suggestions we got, I think we kind of focused on a certain area that's above Houston Street. Let me go back to my team and ask why did they not look at anything south of it. And then to your second question about PD enforcement, is there a number of locations that you can send to me?
I think there's another person on this call who can certainly speak to that, but I'm sure that we can get pictures to you. I think especially the ones that have been added off Avenue C to compensate for the bike lanes have been problematic. I don't live near there, so I don't walk over there frequently, but I mean, this happens. I mean, there's the person who said earlier, Ms. Summers, about people are parking in the Clinton Street bike lane. Mm-hmm. Anywhere that there is like a lack of enforcement or structural enforcement, I'll call it, cars park there. So just assume that every neighborhood loading zone will be illegally parked in at some point. I mean, we had someone from a church I'm forgetting the name of the church, but I'm from Pitt Street, telling us that people were using fake clergy placards to park in front of their church. I mean, drivers are just viciously disobeying laws. So that should be like very clear to DOT that this is a threat whenever you do something like this. But I'm sure we can get you some photos.
Okay.
Thanks.
Certainly share those locations with me, because I think that's something that I need my team to know, that there are locations that we might need additional enforcement, or their location, maybe it doesn't work very well for that location. So that's something we could definitely take a look at.
Thank you. All right, Kenyelle, go ahead.
Hi. So you mentioned to adding another loading zone to 3rd Street area. And what would that, like, you put in between the block from between B and C?
So this is in front of 222 East 3rd on the south side between B and C.
Yeah, so that would be in between the block, and it would be what does that mean? So you'd be taking out more parking to put a loading zone?
It'll be about 40 feet. So that's about 2 parking spaces.
Okay, and what is being what's loaded? Like grocery, like for the stores, or for like delivery services?
It's also for passengers. like residents who need to pick up, drop off people, groceries, unloading.
Okay, okay, I got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Susan, you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Yeah, in response to Michelle's locations, I wasn't at the district service cabinet meeting this morning, Jen, but we gave a bunch of those locations to 7th precinct, and they were supposed to come to the meeting today with their plan to address them. Did that not happen?
Well, the 7th precinct, I don't think they mentioned about the loading zones. They only spoke about the Clinton Street bike lane blocking.
Well, we talked a lot, yeah, and that wasn't just loading zones. So I think a lot, Michelle, they were all, pretty much all bike lanes, right?
I believe, yes.
Sorry, yeah, I stepped away, yeah. The pictures I sent you, Susan, were all exclusively from the Clinton Street bike lane between Rivington and Henry Street. Like I said, there aren't any neighborhood loading zones near my house. So
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
see that.
so we were starting with one group. But, you know, the police are very, you know, well, okay, we can do that in an organized manner.
Okay, committee members, any other questions for DOT on this one item? Or comments? Okay, I'm going to take one comment from the community. It's about 8:43. Mr. Wald, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm shocked to see that there are only 12 proposals to put loading zones. We need loading zones on every block. I'm shocked to see that there's only one loading zone on Avenue B. Avenue B is a very narrow street, only one moving lane in each direction, which is always blocked by double parked delivery trucks or utility trucks on every block of Avenue B. Avenue B needs loading zones on every block. I'm very sorry to see that there are so little of that. If there were out of the 100 proposed requests that DOT received, I probably put 3 or 4 dozens. Every one of them was supported with a short video that showcased why this location needs a loading zone. I really hope that DOT will bring way more loading zones to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. All right, that's the final comment I'll take from the community. If there's any other questions or comments from the committee, this is the time. If not, we're just going to move on from this item. Okay. Thank you, DOT, for updating us. Hopefully we'll get some more information that we can share with the community about the proposed neighborhood loading zones up here. Okay. Thank you. All right. So before we adjourn tonight, I just want the committee to start thinking about potential agenda items going forward in the next couple months, whether it's next month. I know there's specific things that you want to see come back onto the agenda. I know there's something we're thinking about in December with those Clinton Street bike lanes and talking about things that may have been on previous agendas that are not, that haven't been back for updates or anything like that. So start looking through those things and saying, hey, shoot me an email, shoot the office an email saying, hey, Paul, can we bring this back on? Can we get an update on this? Because, I think what tonight showed is there just seems to be some type of disconnect. I don't know what exactly it is, but there's some type of disconnect that we're not seeing a map of loading zones or the communication on where the bike stations are going to be or anything like that. There just seems to be some type of disconnect. And I think we need to, maybe look at some different strategies on our end from the board overall, not just limited to this committee, but I'm sure there's other city agencies that from other committees that are probably maybe dealing with some of these disconnects. Go ahead, Lee.
Well, I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that we've been getting this type of treatment, certainly for the few years that I've been on this committee from DOT, whether it was the infill or additional city bike stations about a year and a half or so ago. Little information. If I remember correctly, there were not the number, just locations as opposed to the number, how much space they would be taking up. And if we look at all the issues that we've been experiencing on Grant Street, on Clinton Street, on Delancey Street, and the rest with the Williamsburg Bridge, continuing problems and little from DOT substantively, and it's, you know, many of us in the community feel like we're hitting our heads against a wall.
No, I understand. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate you saying that. Okay, so yeah, that's the only thing I'm just gonna say. Just start thinking of stuff that we can try to get updates on, and so we can get improved communication. At least start on our end from what we can do, or what's in our control and what we can do, and send it over to the office. And I know the office works, you know, extremely hard at getting stuff and trying to get us information. And sometimes that information doesn't always get to us right away or within a reasonable amount of time. So I get it, you know, like everyone's doing their best. And I appreciate all the hard work from the office, from Susan, Calvin, everyone there, to everyone on the committee. You know, we're taking time out to a Tuesday night to get a lot of this done. So I just want us to maybe take a little bit more of the reins in terms of like getting this information and trying to help everybody out. So that's really my thing on that. Okay, we'll do the final attendance, and then we'll close this out. So Wendy, go ahead.
Okay, Paul Rango,
Yes.
Michelle Cooper,
Present.
Present.
Wendy Lee, present. Lee Berman,
Present.
David Crane,
Present.
Daniel Hernandez,
Present.
and Tariq Ramos, still out.
Yeah, he's out today.
Okay.
Before we
Thank you very
adjourn, thank you. What did you need, Wendy? I'm sorry.
No, that was all. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Before we adjourn, I want to thank, he may have jumped off the call already, but I wanted to thank Trevor for coming on tonight. I know he offered a lot of important information. He may have missed me thanking him. He already signed off, but I'll let him know personally as well. All right, we are adjourned. Have a great night, everyone, and a good week, and I'll see everybody at full board in a couple weeks.